You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Lowe's knows to bring your vision to life, it's important to find the right color. That's why MyLowe's Rewards members get a free Valspar paint or exterior stain sample to test your look to confidently refresh your space. Offer valid in-store only 8/7 to 8/20. Limit 1 per customer while supplies last. Discount taken in time of purchase. See associate for details. Rewards program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
The way that God intended, life experience, here we share it. The NoFruitPodcast. Tune in from any platform. NoFruitPodcast. Will help your spirit transform.
What's going on, y'all? We're back. I'm back. I still not feeling the greatest. And I have to tell y'all that this is actually going to be part 2 of what Kafi spoke about in the last episode, talking about partnership and whatnot.
Perfection.
Yeah, that. And right now I'm not perfect to do this episode. But this is something that I would like to talk about today in this partnership versus perfection. When you are in a true partnership, a real true partnership with your partner, the one that you love, a partnership with yourself, because sometimes we have to partner with ourselves. In a partnership with God, one of the things that you need to do, in my estimation, is that you need to show up. I have to say that on the air, that even with me not being 100% last week, my partner, even though she didn't feel as bad as I did, nowhere near as bad as I did, but she showed up. In this situation right now, even though I don't feel the greatest, but I'm showing up. A lot of times, that part of showing up and not trying to be perfect in your show up, it means a lot more in that moment than it does for that situation to be as perfect as possible. Because sometimes of us waiting for perfection, it causes another P word, procrastination.
Exactly.
And so I just want to piggyback a little bit off of what Kafi has spoke about, because I didn't want to get into, if you notice, this episode is not the newer format of, hey, this is what we're going to talk about, y'all, or whatever it is. I went straight into the intro, and I'm about, let's get it, because it's all about showing up, and it's actually part 2, and I believe that personally showing up, one, for myself in this very moment, It's like, all right, Maurice, we've been down for long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Let's push through just a little bit more. Push through a little bit more. Also, showing up for my partner, being my wife in this situation. She, in my opinion, and Kafa's here, she can speak for herself, but she prefers to have our show, to continually show our partnership through life. She's not truly interested in doing it solo. And so she is 1,000% committed to what we present to each and every one of you. And then the last part of this is, which is I believe probably the most important part, is my commitment to God and understanding that His people need to be shown, need to be expressed, that no matter the situation, no matter what it looks like that could be holding you back or whatever it is, as long as you continue to just show up, He's going to make a way out of no way.
Yeah, he'll fill in for those times when you don't feel like you have it all together, when you feel like you're not perfect. He will come in and he'll step right in and make it perfect, make it better, make it, where it should be. And I think that's key. I'm so glad that Maurice is back with us, and as you can hear, he's not feeling the best. But he's pressing through. We're using all the P words today. He's certainly pressing through and, putting God first and understanding that, the purpose, the mission, the call is a lot greater than how our body may feel. The purpose, the mission, the call, the pursuit, has to be greater than whatever is going on in our own little lives, because it is so much larger than just us. So I think that's, so commendable that Maurice is here and he's, again, pushing through, even with all the things that may be going on, coughing, postnasal drip, all of those things. So I had some of that last time at the last show. I had a lot of postnasal drip, so I do apologize for that. But again, all the P words. But yeah, I think showing up for one another, showing up for ourselves, but at the root of it all is showing up for God, like Maurice is saying, and putting God first and acknowledging who He is and where He is in our lives. That, as I said in the last show, that we're not perfect beings or in any manner, that we're just striving to be better, and it's God that makes us better. So.
And I think something else, as we're showing up and not worrying about being perfect, but we're also accountable to one another. And if you want people to be in a position to be able to trust you, to depend on you, to, whatever it might be, you have to be able to be accountable. You have to be able to be accountable for your actions, how you speak to one another, how you deal with the situation or whatever it is. And I commend Kafa. I mean, she'll tell you that I commend her on showing up, not only with and it's interesting because I haven't been feeling well for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in pain. I have been challenged health-wise for a while. And so the interview that she had done by herself, one interview, I think it was Lisa Watson, I believe it was.
No, that was...
Linda Sutton.
Yeah, Linda.
I'm sorry. Linda Sutton. Kafa did it by herself, and then, again, like I said, the last episode. So, I haven't been right in a minute. And I think some of that has been for me to sit back and be quiet for a minute and just hear from God in certain situations, in certain places and spaces. And but again, Kafa probably has been dealing with her own God speak, if you will, God conversations of like, hey, you know what? You can go through this stuff on your own. You can see yourself go the extra mile and be able to handle an interview and a show all by yourself. You're able to, and so sometimes we don't understand that, that God is also showing what our other capabilities are. And sometimes if you want something bad enough, are you going to push through enough? And so y'all can't see Kafa shaking their head. But because Kafa in the past, I say, hey, you know what, Kafa, you could do it on your own. You could do X, Y, and Z, whatever. She's like, no, Maurice, I want to do it with you. But she's shown that she is more than capable of handling it. Way more than she probably even give herself credit for.
And I think what happened was, what Maurice is alluding to, for some time he would say to me, Kafi, you want to go downstairs and record your own show? No, Maurice, I don't. Kafi, maybe I should do, a show from the men's, husband's point of view, and you can do a show from the wife's point of view. No, Maurice, we went into this together. We're married to each other. We're doing a marriage podcast, talking to people about our experiences as a married couple, not just, hey, this is the wife's point of view, etc. So all these times he's presenting things in, and trying to encourage me and empower me to do some things out on my own. And I have shied away from it numerous times. As many times as I could, I shied away and stepped back. There were times even when I was like, okay, well, we just won't have a show then, because I'm not going down there to do that on my own. But as Maurice said, I've been doing some work on my own and trying to understand my purpose and what God has for me and what my voice is in this world, in life, and in this world of podcasting. So God created this perfect storm. So if there's anything perfect, it certainly came from God. And he created this perfect storm, as Maurice said. He had been battling some physical pain where he hadn't been feeling well. And then some other things had come upon that he didn't have much of a voice, didn't have much energy. And we had some shows that needed to be done. So I pressed through. Something came upon me, and I felt more confident in it all and didn't want to deny our guest the benefit of doing the show. We had already canceled on her once because of not feeling well and some other things that were going on within the family. And I didn't want to cancel on her again. I thought, she was diligent enough to follow up with us and reschedule. So if one of us was okay, then I tried to press through. I know she wanted you to be there, Maurice, but, I think I, got through the interview and held it down. Maybe we'll bring her back on the show where she can talk to the both of us if need be. And if that's what the cards, align. And then the next perfect storm was, again, that Maurice wasn't feeling good yet again. And I was able to get the show, done without him. And, took a couple of little lessons of Maurice sitting down with me and saying, hey, press this button, do this, and those types of things. Some dry runs, things like that, before I was able to, get up and do it on my own. But again, that was the perfect storm. Mm-hmm. Those things kind of fell into place and fell in my lap. And I didn't run away from it. I think because it kind of happened that way, that just me and my personality, I deal with things as they happen. I'm not necessarily the best planner. I can do planning, but sometimes I'm, as Maurice says, I'm more reactionary. So this all happened, and it's just like, okay, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Mm-hmm. So I prayed about it and, along with all the other things that I had been looking at in my life, decided to step up and do it. I enjoy podcasting. I enjoy talking to you all and sharing information about our story, information about our life, hoping that it helps you along the way. As I said, like, we didn't have a whole lot of people to lean on and glean on when it comes to marriage, when it comes to relationships. So I'm happy to share our story so that you can learn from us. The things that we did well, you can decide to try to pick those things up. And places that we didn't do well, you can hopefully not repeat those things and learn from them. So that's my story.
Yeah, so, all this being said, because I think she did such a wonderful job on partnership versus perfection. And I was like, all right, let me expand upon it just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Because in that moment of partnership, and I'm not going to sit here and say that Kafi did it perfectly, because one, we already believe that nothing's perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as I said to her, there's no critique. There's no, hey, you could have done this better. It's all about how she felt, how she ran with the show. Nothing. And so this is the other part of partnership, of being able to say, hey, babe, you did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you were a little gun shy, even if you were a little apprehensive, and you may not have really wanted to do it, but you stepped up to the plate and you performed, you broke a leg, right? So there were times in our relationship where I didn't always congratulate.
Right.
Even, and and it's funny because as we're talking, and I asked her, I sat her down the other day and just like, how do you think you done? I asked her first. And sometimes I ask that, and then she'll kind of play the fence a little bit. I did okay, but I could have done this or whatever it is. And then in the past, I would say something and it kind of like almost wipes out the confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had to learn and grow and mature in that space of like, hey, Maurice, in all reality, only because you have another show that you do by yourself, that doesn't mean that's perfect. Like, you're used to doing that. Like, you're used to doing stuff by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
This is Kafi's first time of doing this show, doing this type of episode, whatever it is, by herself. How does she really do? And did she act as if it was her first time? She did not. All 7 years of her experience showed out to me. And so and Kafi could tell you, I didn't say anything that would have made her reconsider doing it again, because I had no reason to. I didn't make anything up. I didn't, get super hard or whatever. Like, I didn't. I mean, I think that, and this, again, this is this message for, anyone that's out there that's listening. As long as you show up as your true self, your authentic self, speak your, and I hate to say this term, but your truth. And I say that because sometimes we need to understand what truth really is. Like, we really need to pray about it and whatever it might be. But as long as you stay, who you are in that moment and not fabricate and not overextend and try to make it up and make it sound glamorous, if you will, that your message can get across. And I believe that Kafi's message had gotten across and it hit in the right spot. Excuse me. And so in that space, there was no reason for me to come off as the horrible human being I might have been in the past, i.e., someone that wanted perfection.
Mm.
I'm sorry, I went the whole long route just to get to the one word of
to
perfection.
Just to get into,
but I needed to paint the picture, right, of what is the idea of perfection. What is it? Again, is it a fallacy? Is it something fantasy? Is it something that's not totally real? So if you believe that your spouse, if you believe that the person you're in a relationship with, is the closest vision of perfection, the closest, why in the world would you create a moment that would totally destroy that?
Mm-hmm. You unravel it.
Right.
There's a poem that I had to learn years ago. I think it's about the weaver. And, it talks about how things are being woven and up and down, and there's twists and there's turns, and it just doesn't seem to be pretty. It looks imperfect. You know what I mean? And it's not till you get to the very, very end that you're able to turn it around and see the perfection in it. So likewise, something that looks perfect, something that looks all put together, I'm thinking of a painting. I'm thinking of a beautiful rug. I'm thinking of any piece of artwork, whether it's a fiber artwork like crochet or needlepoint or whatever, because I used to do some of those things. So I would get frustrated because in the midst of it, it looks like crap. You turn it over and it, the underside looks like crap. The back of a painting does not look as beautiful as the front side. So you're going for perfection, but like all sides are not perfect, so the underside of a rug is not perfect. Definitely the underside of needlework, because you're snipping and changing things around and it's just a bunch of knots here and there. It doesn't look perfect. It doesn't look well put together. But there is a perfect side to it. There is something beautiful out of it. But when you're, as I said before, when you're striving for perfection, that's when you miss the mark. You miss the mark, especially, as believers. I can't figure out perfection because I'm not perfect. So how can I strive for perfection when I'm not perfect? So my vision of perfection is not perfect. My vision of perfection is imperfect. It's actually I am in it. It's all about me, and that's not a partnership. That's not a togetherness. If I'm trying to be perfect, because my vision of perfection is not going to be equal to my partner's vision of perfection. Not in all ways. We both might be thinking of the big old house on the hill, 30 acres, and whatever. And that might sound like the perfect thing for us, but even with that, my perfect vision, we ain't got no weeds. I don't want to see not a dandelion. I don't want to see a crabgrass. I don't want no animals, no bugs in that grass. You know what I mean?
That's why we're going to have AstroTurf.
So I don't even want AstroTurf. I don't like that.
Well, you got to give up something.
But I'm saying in my perfection of it all, it's all, it's not totally flat. I've got some, things going on. I want some trees and things like that, but I don't want broken limbs.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? So it's like, what is perfection? Because I'm not going, in real world, I'm not going to have that. It's not going to be the picture from, the art gallery.
TV show or, like you said, art gallery.
You know what I mean? But that's what people paint.
Right.
They don't paint pictures of a whole bunch of weeds and voles and moles and what's some other things we have around here? Groundhogs crawling around and creating potholes and whatnot. We don't think about, a storm just came through and now half the trees have fallen over.
Yeah.
And there's leaves and everything. No, that's not the picture of perfection that we have. And that's not the reality, is what you're stating.
Right.
So, being true, being authentic, hello, my 30 acres is not, it's going to be real authentic.
I mean, authenticity would be weeds, dandelions, crabgrass.
No, don't want it.
Brown spots. Yeah, it'll be all the above.
Dips and valleys. And
it might even have, bees that make hives underneath the grass or what else. Ant hills. Yeah. Who knows? Squirrels. We might bring the squirrels with us. Who knows? Because these squirrels are retarded.
Squirrels going wild.
Who knows? Skunks. Whatever it might be.
Some of those around here too. No, don't like those.
So
deer ticks.
Frogs. Everything.
No, the frogs are kind of cute that we have around. They're little
salamanders.
No, like it doesn't. Those either.
So I think it comes down to, as you're stating, Kafa, what is your image of perfection? And sometimes that image of perfection, it most importantly, because even the partnership that you have with your grass, you can't control that. you can't control that at all. And I'll give you an example before we let y'all go. There's this family that we look at on YouTube every week, right? And we notice that, for one, they have they just moved to a new crib, but it's just one patch of grass that just won't grow.
It's more than one patch, but go ahead. You can be nice.
Area,
You're being nice. Go ahead.
But then recently, they have these mushrooms that's been growing. And the husband, he Googled it, and the mushrooms are supposed to be deadly to people, right? And one show, it was only one mushroom. The last one we just looked at, or whatever, the most recent one we just watched, it had 4 of them. He said, now 4 people could be dead, right? And so the reason I'm saying that, because sometimes what you think could be perfect or whatever it is, if you don't nurture it, if you don't take care of it, whatever it is, that part that you don't nurture, that you don't tend to, whatever it is, can start to spread and kill whatever else is going on around it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't take the time, and so granted, Kafa and I are talking about from a perspective of marriage, because it's she and I, right? But I have also taken the same mentality towards the relationship that I have with my kids.
Right.
I've taken a relationship that, this idea with all of my family members. So at what point in time do you start to change the narrative, especially how rough and tumble things seem like in life right now?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be that light and continue to help grow everyone else around you. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, in that, you're going to have some haters. And welcome to haters. Because guess what? That means that you're doing something right. And understand that your legacy, especially for those of us that are concerned about it, is going to live on longer than it would be if you don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is, your legacy or your name only lasts 2 or 3 generations after you. And so when Kafa and I sit down, we talked about this in the past, not too long ago, about how there are some family members that we can still laugh and joke about, and we refer to every now and then to our kids or whatever it might be. Then there are some family members that, dang, I totally forgot about them. Oh, wow. Because they may not have affected our lives in a manner for us to constantly talk about them and to have their memory continue to live on. That doesn't mean that they didn't affect us, but they just didn't affect us in a meaningful way for that time in our life. So make the time, take the time, create the time to say, hey, you know what? I am going to make a change in someone's life and have it and allow it to grow. Be open-minded enough to allow it to grow, because it's going to grow in more ways than you ever intend and expect. And so you'll hear in future episodes very shortly how even some of the things that I've spoken about has dwindled down to Kafa, and Kafa even has been allowing it to grow a little bit. So that's just a tidbit for y'all to listen to new episodes coming up. But that's really about it, y'all. I mean, I thank y'all very much for listening today.
Thanks so much for listening.
I hope that y'all enjoy part 2. And as y'all can still hear, I'm coughing and everything else still. I keep hitting the mute button. And my voice sounds all, that's all I hear. But I thank y'all for listening. And I thank y'all for supporting Kafa in her journey. It's greatly appreciated. And hopefully y'all can give her a round of applause, for a job well done.
Thank you, Maurice.
You're welcome, Kafa. And anything else, Kafa?
Nope. Just want to say I love you very much. And I hope you feel better real soon.
We'll see about that. We'll talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.